till Christmas. No more Doctor Who. 6 months. No more Doctor Who for 6 months, pretty much. Oh, man, that sucks. And then it will be Peter Capaldi's last episode. Boo. I really like Peter Capaldi. And Stephen Moffat's last episode, which, I'm mixed feelings about, to be honest, but end of an era in 6 months' time. But that's in the future. Let's talk about now. It's time for another Doctor Who review. Welcome to my channel, I'm Phil. Today we are talking about The Doctor Falls, the season 10 finale of Doctor Who. Written by Stephen Moffat and directed by Rachel Talalay. Picks up immediately from last week where the Master revealed himself. Yes, John Sim is back, and him and Missy team up and capture the Doctor. But the Doctor, in the scuffle, managed to somehow reprogram very quickly the Cybermen to also, as well as attacking humans, to look for people with two hearts as well. So they're after them as well, which forces a big team up. And, oh yeah, Bill's a Cyberman, and now we knew that from last week. But she's a Cyberman that seems to have retained her personality somehow. And she helps them escape, and they shoot up some levels in a big ship thing, and to a rural farming community on this big spaceship. And it's kind of then a sort of under siege story where they're trying to battle off the forthcoming armies of Cybermen, which, because of the time difference being further away from the black hole, time's going faster for the Cybermen floors below. They are able to evolve and get more advanced, and that's why we see some Cybermen of other designs that we know, and they fight it off, and there's a bit of interaction between the two masters, and by the end of it, the Doctor decides to blow up the whole floor of the ship, killing all the Cybermen, and himself with it. I thought this episode started really great. I thought the first half of it was pretty damn good. Second half of it had some pretty major flaws, I thought, but it was still overall an episode I quite liked. So let's start with the good. It's great to see John Sim back. He has all of the wit and charm that I loved from his previous appearances, and he's added a bit more in. He's kind of seems to have taken some inspiration from especially with the beard, from the classic masters, from those first two masters. But John Sim has always been witty in the role, and I like that, and I like that was retained. It's kind of a nice blend of the two, I thought. Snark, that's the word I'm looking for. He had good snark. I love the interaction between him and Missy as well. I thought that was great. It's flirting with himself, I guess. But it was really good. It was the first time we've ever seen two masters interacting with each other. And there's this added dynamic here where he doesn't really approve of what he becomes in the future. As far as he's concerned, I mean, John Sim's master is out and out evil. Missy's master is on a redemption arc. He's on a redemption arc, and he can see it. So he doesn't like that. So he tries to lure her back to his ways, and that is interesting to see. And at the end, they basically kill each other, which is quite fitting. And I think he's right when he says,
"You see, Missy, this is where we've always been going. This is our perfect ending. We shoot ourselves in the back."
That fits the character of the Master really well, I think. However, I did find myself a little bit disappointed with just how little of the two Masters there were. It was great while they were on screen, I just don't think there was enough of it. I think there might have been a bit too much in this episode, and I think if we'd had him, if this had been a 3-parter maybe, or they'd had him for a full 2 episodes, that would have been so much better. But I think that they just, I don't know, John Sim seemed a little bit wasted, and I wanted to see more of that interaction, more of that dueling nature of the two masters, the Missy and the Master, of how their personalities clash a bit more. That would have been good to see. I'm also slightly disappointed that they've effectively killed off the Master for good, seemingly. He shoots Missy, the Master shoots Missy and says, "Oh, don't bother trying to regenerate. That was its highest setting." So evidently, she can't regenerate. Of course, this is Doctor Who, and John Sim's Master had also previously died and, completely kaput, didn't regenerate, and still came back. So, who knows? Maybe one day they can bring him back. They will. Of course they will. But when? I don't know. And just to share, I really wanted to see there were some things I think they missed out on that whole Master Missy story. I wanted to see at least one of them regenerate. I wanted to see John Sim regenerate into Missy. I get why they want to leave a little bit of open-endedness. You know, maybe he survived. Maybe that's not when he regenerates into Missy. Maybe there's another version of him between him and Missy. I don't know. I get why they would want to leave it open, but I kind of really wanted to see John Sim regenerate into Michelle Gomez. And considering Stephen Moffat has previously said he's a completist when it comes to regenerations for the Doctor, and that's why he did the Night of the Doctor, because he wanted to fill in all those blanks and have all of those regenerations. I'm a bit disappointed that he didn't take the same tact with the Master. Also on the Master, I really liked the Doctor speech when he was trying to convince the Master to be kind. A lot of good stuff in that speech, and I think, as always, Peter Capaldi does speeches really well, and this was no exception. It was another good one. And I like the fact you could see, just in the way the director had framed it, the way the director had shot it, that you could see the lack of reaction it was having on John Sim's Master, but you could also see the reaction it was having on Michelle Gomez's Missy, and that was really interesting. There were some nice callbacks to classic Who.
Nothing wrong with kind. Jelly baby?
And Bill being a Cyberman with a soul, with a conscience. I thought that was done pretty well, actually. I was really worried how they were going to include her in this episode, but I think stylistically it was done really well. It worked really well from a story point of view, sort of showing those dual perceptions of how she sees herself just as regular Bill, and then the camera maybe pans away to another shot and pans back, and it's her as a Cyberman, or using the mirror. I just think that worked really well stylistically, and did a really good job of conveying how she was feeling trapped inside of this Cyberman. And I think one of the ways it was used really well is when you see when the shot starts with her as Cyberman, and you see somebody reacting to her, and then maybe the shot changes and you see Bill, and you see how the emotion on her face of how that person reacting to her in that way has affected her. I thought that was really good and really well done. I thought that was great. Where the Bill stuff got bad was the second half. Yeah, they've copped out of another death, haven't they, really? It's getting a little bit annoying. Look, you don't want to kill your companions, don't kill the companions. Don't kill them and then suddenly save them again and again and again. It gets tiring. Really tiring. Okay, I saw in the interview Stephen Moffat says the story's about, Doctor Who's about hope. You don't want people dying, whatever. That's fine. So don't kill them in the first place. Yeah, cop out. Especially when they brought in Heather at the end. I get it, they set it up, but it just felt really cheap. It's kind of spoiled it a bit. What else didn't I like? Okay, the Cybermen go through this rapid evolution. Now, when the Doctor was up on floor 1, and the Cybermen were at the bottom, 10 years passed for Bill. And that was maybe 5 minutes of their time. But we see... Okay, here's the problem I've got with this. For starters, why did they evolve into the exact same Cybermen we've seen elsewhere? That implies that that's the only course of evolution. It also doesn't take into account that one of those designs that they evolved into came from a parallel universe. Why would they evolve into those specifically? Where were the 80s style Cybermen? Why was that bit of their evolution not portrayed? And it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense. And also the time difference. I don't know if they would have had, the Cybermen we've seen in the main series, the most modern one we've seen, and that was in this episode. That, in terms of Cyberman history, is after thousands and thousands of years evolving up to that point and advancing their technology up to that point. Now, I don't know the mathematics of how this time difference works, but I don't think the equivalent down in there in floor bottom whatever it was floor is the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of years or whatever that it was for the Cybermen to evolve outside of this thing and to that point. So it still doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't gel. Another thing I disliked about the end how did Bill survive the big explosion? Why was she the only Cyberman that survived? She is one of the most primitive types of Cybermen on that battlefield, and yet she's the one that survives. She doesn't have any armour, she's got cloth, basically, and a few tubes, and yet she's the one that survives enough to pick up the Doctor and see her water girlfriend, and every other Cyberman is wiped out. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But then we got the next time bit. We got the Doctor just starting to regenerate and refusing to do it. And I think, actually, okay, we've seen that before, saying he doesn't want to go. I think I'm going to go on a limb and say he did the not wanting to go better than David Tennant did the not wanting to go. Felt a lot less forced. It felt a bit more real and emotional. And then we got David Bradley turning up as the first Doctor at the very end. Is he actually gone back into his own time stream? Is this a multi-Doctor story in that sense? Or is my theory that he is in his own psyche, in his mind palace, and he's just having this vision of his first incarnation in order to convince him to regenerate because he needs to and should stop hanging on to his old body? Is that the case? We'll find out, I guess. Who knows? As I said, the first half of this episode was I thought was really good. Not quite up to last week's standards, but the first half I would have easily given a 9 out of 10. The second half brings it down, unfortunately. So my overall score for this episode is going to be an 8 out of 10. 7.5. No, 8. I'm going to stick with the 8. 8 out of 10 for this, I'm giving it. So we got to Christmas to the next episode now. I'll probably have some other Doctor Who videos in between now and then, though. Hoping to bring back Doctor Who Rebrief, my trek through the first Doctor's adventures. I might even get to the episode where he regenerates in before Christmas. Don't know, depends how the recording schedule goes on that. To look out for that. I've also just finished reading the Glamour Chronicles, the trilogy of books that were released last year, I think. So I'm going to do a review of those at some point, so keep an eye out for that. And I will hopefully see you soon. Please do like, subscribe. There'll be more Doctor Who content, as I said, and other stuff. I do other stuff as well, including celebrating holidays every day, which I'm a bit behind on, to be honest. Need to catch up. Right. Yeah, that's it. I will see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.